What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Killstreaks and Kickoffs Podcast. We are on episode number 10. Finally, we are at double digits, so I'm super excited about that. We're going to be covering the CDL today, the Major 1 tournament that just happened this past weekend. It was very exciting, and that's pretty much what this episode is going to be focused on, since there's not a whole lot going on in the football world. Obviously, we have the Super Bowl this upcoming weekend, and we've already talked about that. But again, it's just going to be about CDL for the most part this episode. But other than that, I am a little bit sick, so I apologize. This episode's getting out a little bit later than I wanted it to get out, but yeah, here we are. So apologize for that, and I apologize for any sniffles or sneezing or coughing or anything during the course of the episode. But bear with me with that. Make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify if you prefer to listen there. Link will be in the description below, or you can look up the Killstreaks and Kickoffs podcast on Spotify, as well as all other socials are going to be in the description as well. I'm going to be joined by a guest for the first time on the Call of Duty section of the show this week, so I will have him introduce himself once we get there. But yeah, let's get right into this episode. All right, real quick. So we filmed earlier today an entire podcast about the Major 1 tournament. Of course, it is 11 p.m. today on Thursday, February 6th, and this broke like pretty much two hours after we recorded the first segment. So we did talk about it and gave our thoughts on it. It'll be interesting, I guess, to go back and listen to what our recommendations were. So I'll let you get to that when you get to that. But OpTic has in fact dropped Hook, and we'll be replacing him with PRED back into the roster. I won't spoil any of my, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I think this is the right move personally. It's a championship roster. You got to let it rock with us. So, you know, you got to live by the championship roster and die by the championship roster, and that is what OpTic Texas is doing here. Bringing PRED back in, it's kind of expected. I mean, they placed top 8 at the tournament, so I think that him or Hook being on this roster was completely dependent upon that Major 1 LAN tournament placing. And as a team, if you just don't come out and do if they didn't get to a Sunday, so I think maybe if they get like a top 4, top 3, or win the whole thing, maybe Hook stays. Hook obviously stays if they win the thing, but maybe top 3, top 4, he sticks around. But unfortunately for Hook, that is not the case. And I get it. Hook has been their best player, or was their best player at the Major. So this is no shot at Hook. He's an amazing player, and you just have to. It's a World Championship winning roster last year, so you have to run it back. You can't let like a personal issue like what PRED was dealing with, drop a player, one of your best players on that championship team, just because of that before the Major even starts, and not pick him back up if things aren't going well. So it makes total sense for me here. Hook as well, man. Like I said, great player. He fried at the Major. I don't think Hook will struggle at all getting on to another roster in the near future, maybe before Major 2 even starts, to be completely honest. So best of luck to Hook, man. Sucks for him, but I just think, I mean, this roster has to be reassembled right here. Pred tweeted out there back. So that makes sense. But yeah, just wanted to touch on that because we obviously did not have this information by the time we were recording. So we gave our thoughts on what OpTic should do a little bit. And then only other thing, Breaking Point probably has it here, but Surge did actually drop Hixie, I believe. Yeah. So right here, Vancouver Surge have released Hixie from their starting lineup. I think we talked about this, and this is what we said they should do as well. So I don't know what their plan is to replace him. The first comment says Hook coming back. So I don't know if I honestly probably doubt that would happen. But because I think Hook may be able to find better spots than the Vancouver Surge right now, but we'll see. So I don't know what their plan is. I think I actually mentioned what the rumored leaks were in this. I know I forgot it then, and I'm forgetting it now, but I think it was here we go, Afro and Neptune. Were potential options as of yesterday, so I don't know if that's still the case, but we'll see. what the Vancouver Surge do with this roster to replace Hicksy here. Unfortunate for Hicksy, man, but they weren't getting the results that I think they want out of this roster, so makes sense that they're making a change as well. But yeah, that's pretty much everything here. Try to take care of this real quick to add some added context of the things that have not came or had not came to fruition by the time we recorded this earlier. But I will kick you guys over to what we did record earlier, and we'll talk about the actual major. Alrighty, we are live, and let's hop into the to the CDL matches here. The only thing we're going to be talking about, but first and foremost, we have another new guest on the podcast here. Just going to be us two today. Talking about Call of Duty, we've had guests for the NFL and college football. We have not had another knowledgeable soul in here to be discussing the CDL, so I figured why not bring on somebody here for the first LAN tournament major. So if you want to go on ahead and introduce yourself real quick, and we can jump into this.
Yeah, well, I'm Drew. Sam thought he'd bring in some a subject matter expert, another crim guy in COD. Can't say there's too many of us in the squad, so bring in an expert and we'll chop it up on some COD today.
Yes, 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 indeed here. Well, yeah, let's get into it. I'll switch over the screen share, and we got the camera situated now. Did not realize that they were still messed up on the switching screen, but we are all good. Let's get into this, man. We had a very, very exciting Major 1 tournament. A few surprises in general, but we're just gonna go through each match individually. Obviously, like on these 3-0s and stuff like that. There's really not a whole lot of things that you can talk about when one team just really slammed the other. But there were some upsets and there were some close matches, of course, because I mean this is Black Ops 6, man. We've been seeing a lot of that. So yeah, we'll hop right into it here. We'll get it kicked off. Or go ahead, Drew.
Well, just real quick, before we start hopping headfirst in these matches, I mean, what did you think overall of the tournament? I mean, it didn't pan out at all how I thought it would go. I mean, with the early phase struggles like of this season, I know they heated up in the minor, but like, I guess just give us an overview of what you thought was going to happen and like how this tournament played out for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest shock for me was, I mean, and we'll talk about their performances, but the biggest shock for me was Miami, just being in that top three, going that far. I initially, I think I got two of my three top three predictions correct, except for Miami, obviously. I was shocked about OpTic. I was more so shocked about OpTic not going far than I was about FaZe going far, because I mean, like I think we talked about, FaZe gets hot at the beginning of the year, a lot, or has in the past, and so it's never a surprise when they're in a top three, in a top two grand finals, or winning the whole thing. So I was more shocked about FaZe themselves, and I was obviously, had FaZe Thieves, and I just thought that third spot was going to go to OpTic, but Miami, man, stepped up on their home turf in Spain, and that was the biggest shock for me about it. I think I had a FaZe OpTic grand final is what I predicted, not FaZe Thieves. So I mean, I guess I also I guess was a little surprised that Thieves actually did this thing and went this far. But I would say for me that was the biggest surprise about it. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was good to see Carolina play well. I know they couldn't get done to get top three, which kind of sucked on Sunday, but I was overall happy with it. That crowd was rocking.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fun. Like, I feel like the European crowds always bring it. I didn't really know if they'd bring it for a Call of Duty event, but it was loud. The chants were fun. Like, it was a fun tournament to watch. So hoping Major 2 can also bring the heat.
Yeah, I think Major
But
Two's in. I think that's the OpTic Major. I need to double check, but I think that one's in Texas. So those are usually always pretty rockin', and I'm sure it'll be the same for this one, being hosted by OpTic. But yeah, it was a fun tournament to watch. I thought we saw some good matches, and this game is so good, in my opinion, Black Ops 6. So it's fun to see it played on LAN at this level finally. But yeah, we'll get into the matches here, actually, and let's see. First and foremost, we had FaZe versus Boston Breach. This was another thing I was surprised by, was Breach's performance this tournament. They looked really good online. I don't think I can't remember. I don't think they did well in the minor tournament, but but as for their like actual play in like the online qualifiers, they were looking really good. And I really did not expect Breach to come over and just come out and keel over like they did here against FaZe 3-0 in this series. A red carpet from Boston and a green carpet from FaZe in the KD department. I was really disappointed with Purge's performance specifically, just because he had really come into his own online. I mean, we had that 45 and 20 map on, I think it was Skyline, earlier in the qualifiers, and he was just looking a lot better. Snoopy didn't look terrible. I know I mentioned him last week, how he was kind of living up to the hype that he was against that MW2 season, but he looked okay in at least this series, specifically, probably the best on their team. But again, Purge, I was a little bit disappointed with his performance in general at this tournament after how he was looking. But yeah, I mean, just an absolute slang fest from FaZe and Slammage here. What did you think here about Boston coming out and getting it raw here from FaZe?
They're always frauds. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to believe about Boston, but it always seems like it's that exact same storyline where it's like they play well on land, or I mean on online, and then get to land, you get a FaZe matchup round one. It's like you know what's gonna happen there. Like, I mean, a Beezy does what a Beezy does, Simp does what a Simp does, and then Purge. I believe he was on Legion last year. I know you hit on him. It's just been so hit or miss with him. Like like you said, 45 and 20 earlier this year, and then you turn around and 38 and 62 map, or you know what I mean?
For the series, yeah.
Like for the series, and like it's just bad. Snoopy, every time I tune in, plays well. I'm starting to think it's kind of good numbers on a bad team. But he looks like he's the only person that can handle the pace that some of these good teams play with. So I can't say I was very surprised at all.
Yeah, no. I think Snoopy is somebody that they're definitely like fully committed to building around, whatever Boston Breach roster assembles going forward. So I think that's the common theme here that we're going to see with them. But yeah, I mean, I'm just disappointed if you're Boston Breach with this showing, and we'll talk about them a bit more when they actually get eliminated. As you can see, they went 0-2 at this major, got double first rounded. But yeah, not a whole lot else to say here. Atlanta FaZe just really gave it to Boston Breach, for lack of a better term. So let's move on here to another 3-0 that we had here on the first day. And actually, I want to pop this out into a new tab. One second.
I guess
Ultra
while you're
versus
doing that,
Surge.
one thing I'd say that's just really frustrating about these bad teams that I continuously see over and over again, is that these bad teams, when you go against these talented rosters like, Ultra, Thieves, FaZe, OpTic, like a lot of the time you're just not going to be able to match pace on some of these like respawns. So staking claim to one game mode, like I mean, you can see it's worked for Ravens. Like they stake claim to being a good S&D team, and you get on land, and if you handle business the way you should handle business, you're to a game 5. If you handle both, or like I mean, I guess you do both your S&Ds, you win two maps on the series. So it stinks to see a team like Breach, to see a team like Surge right here, where it's just like they don't really have a calling card. They just get beat on everything. They're not a good S&D team. They're not a good really anything team, which I think they got to start changing things like that, bring in S&D guys.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I mean, especially here with Surge, man. I think I said it last week. Yeah. Well, I think I was talking about Vegas, about how they don't have an identity. Surge doesn't have an identity either here. They don't have a game mode like you said that they're like super dominant in. They scrap out wins if they do. They somehow throw them together in game fives or against really bad teams that they should beat anyways. Just because they've got a couple reasonably established guys on the roster. I'm talking about their wins against Vegas Falcons, but other than that, man, yeah, this Surge team doesn't really have an identity, and it kind of showed here against Toronto. Toronto just looked, yeah, clean, crispy. Did what they did here in the first round. Did what they were expected here. Yeah, so I was disappointed in Surge because like I said, they were scrapping out wins, but they threw together like a 4-3 online stage, which is like respectable. Granted, you didn't really beat any top teams in it, but being able to beat the teams that you're better than is still respectable. So you at least expect a little bit more than again getting double first rounded here in this tournament. So I was a little bit disappointed with them. As for the Toronto side of it, it was pretty standard, just absolute frying from their sub-duo Kleenex and Joe Deceives here. They've been looking good this season. Beans has been coming into his own, and Insight's been playing slow. I wrote a note in their next game. It's funny, and we'll see how the KDs pan out in that one. But it's funny when Toronto slams a team, all these guys are positive and Insight is negative just because of how slow he is. And there's not enough kills to go around, or he's not getting to those kills like he would be. And then when they get slammed, which they do later on, spoiler alert, in the tournament by some other teams, he's the only one frying. Well, not you can't call it frying, but at least the only one positive, because everybody else is dead on his team, and he's the last one alive to clean up those kills. So, I don't know if that's a big thing or not here with this Toronto Ultra team. Obviously, it looked good here in this match. They got the 3-0, but maybe a point to kind of consider, and just maybe in this game specifically. I know Insight's playstyle is what has helped this Toronto team find success in the CDL so far, for sure, but it varies game to game, and with Black Ops 6, maybe that's a problem, maybe not. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But Drew, I mean, you can give your thoughts here on this series for Toronto.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I mean, I agree. Like you said, Kleenex, Joe Deceives, Beans. Shout out to Joe Deceives. Glad to see him playing well. Like, it's good to see a guy that played well last year. When he played well on Thieves. They brought in a God Squad, and he got cut. But it's good to see him get picked up by another good roster and continue to play well. And then, yeah, I don't know what to say about the Insight. Like you said, it's led to somewhat success in the past. But that was also with Scrap and stuff like by his side. So how much was that, a part of it? But in a game like this, where later on Sunday you see a 4-4 Jackal, like no aims on the map, just full bore like bang out. How much can like is Insight really like helping this team get up to his full potential in a game like this? He's a great Call of Duty player. There's no doubt about that. But like when you're seeing those straight up bang outs, Insight's nowhere to be seen. So it's tough to win a 3v4 for Ultra at times like that. But obviously, in other ways he picks it up. But it'll be interesting for the rest of the year to see how Ultra plays, because it might not, be coercive with his style. So
Yeah, but not to discredit this win. I mean, this is solid. Like a 3-0, you'll take anytime you can get it in, especially in winners round one against another winners team that Vancouver Surge was. Indeed.
yeah,
So
but
yeah,
supposed to handle business there. You're supposed to handle business there. It's kind of a bigger picture.
yeah.
You'll see it. You'll see the issue pop up when we dig into the games later.
Yeah, but yeah, not a whole lot else to say there in that one. Toronto Ultra kind of just handed it here to Vancouver Surge. Let's move on to a very interesting one. Carolina Royal Ravens versus the Los Angeles Thieves here, and I thought this would be a bit closer in general. At least I didn't think that Carolina was going to come out here and look like toddlers in hardpoint here. These outscored Carolina. I did the math, 500 to 113 in hardpoint in these two maps that they played in this series. That was abysmal from Carolina's end and clinical from Los Angeles Thieves' end here. I haven't seen a team get this dominated in both of the hard points in a single series in a long time. I remember the last I remember of this was OpTic MW2 when they were playing. I think it was Fortress. They were just bullying every single team that they played on Fortress, like 100-point clubbing everybody, like even FAZE when they were so good. So that was the last time in my recent memory that a team looked this dominant in a hard point or in the hard points in a series. But that was only one map for OpTic. They did it both to Carolina here, so that was just insane. A couple of foresight things that I did want to touch on related to LA Thieves, aside from the hard points. I mean, great job of the hard points, obviously. You did your thing for sure in this series. But one thing I wanted to say, when you look at the KDs for Los Angeles Thieves here, everybody's green carpet, yes, but Hydra's actually their lowest performer here in this series, which is kind of indicative of the tournament he kind of had in general. When we look at the matches later, and when they did end up eventually losing some of those matches, so it was really wasn't Hydra that won them this series specifically. It was kind of everybody else stepping up and taking care of business here in this one. So that was one thing I did want to point out in this series here. Obviously, get it done against the Ravens, but and then another thing, just the last thing was they did drop an S&D here in this one to Carolina. And granted, Carolina is one of the best, if not the best, S&D team in the game here. But Thieves S&D needs to improve. I think that's an understatement in this one. They don't look like they figured it out, and it showed here against Carolina. Obviously, when you're doing this in hardpoint to those teams, you don't even have to go to a map 5 where you potentially will be dropping a series to these guys. But that's one thing. Obviously here that prevented the 3-0 from Thieves that they probably wanted to get in this series. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. You can go ahead.
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it's kind of crazy. You can get beat 500 to 113 in two hardpoint matches, but you still are 3-1, which is better than what the other teams did.
Yeah.
Just because you take an SND. I thought it was pretty interesting. Obviously, the Hydra struggles. Scrap. I think it might be a common theme against this Ravens team that a good AR kind of goes nuts. Um, Scrap versus a slasher and Vivid on the AR role is just such a big diff, in my opinion. It feels like TJ and Gwyn will be able to hold their own with like good SMG duos, but I think Ravens is lacking, especially in the respawn department on the AR roles. But when it comes to S&D, they get it done. That'll be a common theme for, it was too bad that Thieves couldn't right the ship a little bit. Like you said, played a good S&D team, so they probably didn't. It probably wasn't a red alert going off. But man, if they could have seen this and somehow righted the ship a little bit, then they might be walking home with a championship right now.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. Totally agree. But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot else to say on this series when a team is slamming in the hard points. 500 to 113 again is
I
crazy.
guess actually look at map 1 real quick. I found it really interesting when I watched these that like they didn't even really get like slammed. They did not rotate. Like
Yeah.
the amount of engagements in this game, like I mean, I know it gets bad towards the bottom with like Vivid and stuff, but like there was just not engagements. They were just
Yeah.
getting out rotated, like
Yeah.
literally just clinically beaten on a hard point, which is just like that's when sometimes you're just not going to be shooting, but man, like they just got smacked, which was
Yeah.
just crazy to see. And Vivid's pink eye might have been
Yeah.
that might be a big what if of this weekend is what if Vivid didn't have pink eye? Because man, there was times where he looked like he was playing with only one eye.
Like that.
So yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. They just out rotated them. Definitely outplayed them. I think Carolina probably has to work on their hard point, clean that up. Is their next focus without dropping this S&D prowess that they have. But yeah, that's all we'll touch on here for that match, and then. The last match of day one here was probably the most surprising match. In hindsight, it makes sense because we know, like we said, Miami went to top 3 in this tournament. But initially, man, I was shocked with this showing here from OpTic. I did not expect Miami to come out here and win, especially after OpTic went up 2-1 initially in this series after winning that Hacienda control. Yeah, this is probably the most shocking upset of the day and maybe the whole tournament. I thought it was a breakdown from OpTic personally here. I mean, you saw here, couldn't close out that hard point. 250 to 247. Those are ones that you just have to close out. Walking away from this with a 3-1 victory is infinitely better than obviously losing in 3-2 on that map 5. So, yeah, I initially when I was looking at this game and talking about it last week, I said that this match is going to set the tone of the entire tournament for OpTic, but what I was thinking or what I was concerned with here was was looking at Hook's performance. I was concerned about how Hook would come out and play on LAN, and he came out and had the best KD on the team here. Probably played the best in the series, if not Dashy. Dropped 100 kills, 13k damage. But I mean, Hook, obviously in the SMG department there, was definitely the best SMG on the team in this series. So it really wasn't a Hook problem here, at least in this series. And for the majority of the tournament, it really wasn't. But here, Hook came out, looked good. Kenny and Shotzi just really struggled here to perform. Obviously, it's a 3-2, so it could go either way. But when you're OpTic and you have this high caliber team that you have, you gotta expect a lot more from all of your guys and to clutch up against this team. Now, this is not to discredit Miami. Like I said, they made top 3 in this tournament and they did well. I think they are a good team, especially a good hardpoint team. When they took 2 against OpTic here in this one, and OpTic's hardpoint also looked abysmal this weekend. Yeah, I mean Miami has good hard point and obviously closed it out, iced it up in that map 5 there. And then obviously, like we said, to do this, you have the Spanish crowd behind you finally, and I think OpTic is probably not used to having a crowd that is not behind their back 100%, or at least I'm sure there were a lot of OpTic fans there, but at least they're probably not used to hearing the crowd cheer when they lose in S&D round 2. Obviously, the OpTic fans, I'm sure, are going wild for them when they win their rounds, but also hearing on the other end the crowd go wild for Miami here was probably just a change of pace. I'm not to say that makes them lose the series, and it's definitely not an excuse, but it's just an interesting aspect here of this to speak to, like you said, the European crowd just looked insane in this one. But yeah, I was pretty shocked with this one. I don't know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save a lot of my OpTic thoughts for the next game we get in for them, or I guess when they get eliminated. But um, like you said about the crowd stuff, they just don't really have a like. It'd be nice if like a lot of these guys are just nice guys. It'd be nice if there was a villain and that could like feed off the negative energy from the crowd at times. I think a lot of these guys could get discouraged from not being cheered for like it is majority of the time. Um, Kenny, I feel like Kenny's the one person that for sure would be able like is used to that. He's been on the other side. He's got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Didn't play well. Didn't play well all weekend. And then, yeah, I guess they could have used the Heretics Kryptonite, which is PRED. They're miss. I guess they're missing some of that juice. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll save some of my thoughts as well for when they actually get eliminated from this tournament. But like I said, I think this match itself just set the tone for the tournament for OpTic, and it was probably chalked pretty much after this point.
yeah,
Just judging how they looked after unsure of themselves in the following series, and yeah, not a
they
whole
they
lot.
really they really find out like it's really a hard time for them. Like, and there's a lot of tournaments where like when it goes bad, it goes really bad.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that like Shotzi and Dashi have now played 20 tournaments together and have been like top eighted or like top six like um 8 of the 20 times. So like
Yeah, I
when
saw
it's
that too.
bad, it's really bad. And I just feel like this sums up what we'll see in every game where it's just like it really feels like one person goes well, one person's off. Like for every role. Like I mean, Shotzi and Hook, Kenny and Dashi, like one AR does well, one's bad. One SMG does well, one's bad. And they just don't really like play as a unit. Like, you know what I mean? So um yeah, we'll see more of that later, but this board couldn't sum it up any better. 2 green, 2 red. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree as well wholeheartedly. But yeah, that's the end for day one here. Interesting day. Like we said, we saw some 3-0s and some 3-2s. It gets more interesting though as we move throughout the tournament. But let's jump over here to day two. Friday, getting it kicked off with Carolina versus the Vegas Falcons, and we won't spend a whole lot of time on this one specifically, man. Yeah, Carolina is just, or sorry, Vegas is just kind of like an auto L or an auto W for the team that's playing them. There's not a whole lot else to say about them. Vegas didn't really change on LAN. I don't think any of us were really expecting them to like change their play or anything when it came to LAN, but they didn't. So no surprises there. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I've given my thoughts on Vegas Falcons a whole lot in their online stage and what I think for them and what just in general on Vegas. But I don't have much else to say on this Vegas Falcon teams. We're just gonna have to sit here and watch them lose every series until they can finally maybe figure something out if they can. But then I mean, other thing, this is kind of the start of the TJ Halley insane run through this tournament. He looked really good in this series, and that was a common theme going forward there. So tip the cap to TJ Halley there on this one. But yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts on this one.
Nope. Show up to the computer and you win against Vegas.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's unfortunately how it is. But yeah, let's move on to the Rocker versus Surge series here. Um, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so Minnesota Rocker here gets it done, man. Minnesota Rocker is a tournament team. It seems like like we saw in the minor. I think they placed top four in that one. They were rough in the online qualifiers. I think they finished 2-5 in those, but then come out here and make a little run, a respectable run in this tournament, and they come out and start it here in losers against Vancouver Surge. Get it done 3-1 against them, man. Again, disappointed with Vancouver Surge. I could see a change in some way or another going out of here. I think there may be a tweet about it. I don't know where it is. I didn't save it, so I won't go looking for it. But I think I saw Breaking Point tweeted out that they are potentially looking at changes for dropping Hixie for. I want to say I know Afro was in the talks of the conversation, and then somebody in Challengers. I can't remember who it was. I don't know. Maybe I'll think of it, but I know Afro was in talks of it, and then somebody else for Hixie. I think that's probably where you want to start here if you're with Vancouver Surge. I know Hixie is a good player, and he may be back in the league at some point somewhere else, but he's just not delivering for what this Vancouver Surge roster needs right now. So a change makes sense for that. And then on the other side of the coin here, Minnesota Rocker. I thought they looked good in this series, man. Gio especially drops a 1.42 on this series. Obviously series MVP there. He looked good. A little bit of a subpar series from Estriol. Not really used to seeing that. He's kind of been their top fragger here in this major one stage, but Gio, man, looked good. I think if any changes are made on this Minnesota Rocker team, which I'd probably be shocked if they do change, to be completely honest. But I think if there are any changes, you got to keep Estriel and you got to keep Gio going forward for this team. But they looked good in this series, man. A less scrappy one that they're typically used to. I know they squeak out a lot of map fives, like I've talked about, but they get it done here against Vancouver.
yeah, no, lost map one, responded. I'm a Geo fan. That's kind of my thoughts. Is I've been a Geo fan since last year. Sometimes it looks a little ugly, but I don't know. This seems young. I'd keep them together. They've shown some flashes. Um, plus 31 for Geo. That's nice. And then when you said it comes to Surge, I guess this will be our last Surge sauce. Is 04 and Abuza are not the issue in my mind. I think that's the mind of everybody. So Hixie and Nasty is definitely the area to start
Yeah,
improving. They're
yeah.
going to.
I just checked Breaking Point's Twitter. It was it's they're trialing Afro and then Neptune from Challengers. Afro obviously was in the league last year. I think on Thieves is where he started the year. So he was there, and then Neptune. He's been in the league. He's been on Subliners. He's been on LAG. I think he was on the LAG team that won the Vanguard event. That crazy run. I could be wrong. That might be Spartan I'm thinking of, but both of those might have been on that roster. I can't remember. But yeah, so we'll see what they do there for Hixie, but I think that's definitely where you start with this one. And then, yeah, you're going to want to build around 04 and Abuza, but I think you probably start with maybe just a one-person change if you do make a change here if you're
Yeah,
Surge. But
that's I would say same thing.
yeah. So, okay, well, there's that one. Minnesota Rocker moving on here in losers round. And then we've got LAG versus OpTic Texas. And first thing I said about this one in my notes was I was not impressed with this OpTic win. Respectfully here, it's a Neslo. Again, the hardpoint loss streak continues here in this one. So they're 0-4 at this point of the weekend in hardpoint, but they do squeak out a Neslo. So I mean, you got to tip the ice, I guess, for them to win in a map 5 fashion with 2 search and destroys and 1 control here. A control against one of the better control teams, actually. LAG, that's kind of been their one thing that they've been good at this year is control. So they 3-0 them on the Hacienda there. So that was a little bit unexpected, but slaying department wise, they didn't really look good. This was a rough series for Dashy specifically. Hook and Shotzi doing their thing with the SMG aspect of it. LAG, I do want to say, LAG absolutely slammed them on this protocol hardpoint, which is what they're supposed to be one of OpTic's better maps. So I was shocked about that one. Obviously, going 0-4 in hardpoint up to this point, it makes sense that they're going to lose all of them. But man, just really piss poor from OpTic showing there on protocol hardpoint. But yeah, like I said, the bright spot for them was they did look good in control. So that's one thing that is good. LAG's performance, because since they did get eliminated here, they only get to play one match. And also, it's crazy that a team can start out on loser, just lose their first round, and they're just out of the tournament. Aside from Vegas, that makes sense. But I mean, kind of sucks for teams like LAG that maybe might have been able to make a run. Because I do think this team has potential here.
I think that team's built for LAN. I mean, look at the roster. That team I would not want to see.
Yeah.
Especially if I was a team I mean, good for OpTic to get this win, but look at that team. That team has been around. Not a team I want to see on LAN.
Yeah, definitely. So I doubt we see a change here from LAG personally going forward. I think they try and stick this out, and I know this is subliners pretty much core. Obviously missing Hydra replaced with Lens that we've talked about, but I think they've played like in past years actually. Maybe the year when this team won champs, I think they sucked at Major 1, I want to say. I think they placed like dead last like they did here. So I doubt that they make a change personally here with this one because I do think that there is still potential in this team. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, save a lot more of my OpTic thoughts. The protocol was surprising. I think it's just a scary thing that, like, if you look at the hard points and, like, how the scoring went, it was just, like, I mean, it was just like, OpTic was never really even close, like, from the beginning of the game. They just consistently would, like, get outscored on every single hard point, which is just something you don't want to see. Like, I mean, it'd be nice if they would just, like, chalk up a hard point and go rotate early to a money hill. Which really, I believe it was on this series, they went into a listen-in and, or another series. I don't remember what a series, but it showed in a series with OpTic, they did a listen-in. Hook said, let's rotate early on a protocol hard point, and Kenny said, I'm hitting old. They hit old and almost blew it. So, like, it's just, let's just cut our losses at times with this team because, man, they just consistently, like, try to hold a hill, get broken, and it gets ugly. So I don't know. I mean, OpTic, good for them to squeak out this one because they'd have been in disarray if they would have got double first rounded. So they needed this.
Yeah, fans would have been on their ass for sure. But yeah, they squeaked this one out. We'll move on to the last, I think, losers round 1 match. Yeah, we have Cloud9 versus Breach, and again, this one I was a little shocked. I thought Breach would at least stack up here against Cloud9, man, because they have not been looking great. But they actually get a win. So good for them here to at least not all is chalked for Cloud9, man. A Neslo here for Cloud9. We've seen a couple of those this weekend, but they take both the searches and the control pretty handedly. And actually, I thought this was relatively interesting because I don't think they have the clip, or maybe they do. I can pull this up. Let me see. It's 47 seconds. I wonder if they go to Sib's POV, but Cloud9 should have probably won this map 1 here and made this series a 3-0. Here it is. Sib goes absolutely huge for them, cops a 2-piece there off camera, and then they switch over to him. He's sitting here, top zip, no reason you should be challenging that with an AR. Just sit there and stare glitch, or at least don't stare glitch break GAs, but sit there on the steps and iron for your team here. There's no reason you should be pushing top zip with an AR, and I mean Snoopy especially is going to kill you with his raw gunny in that engagement every single time. So if he probably sits there, I think they probably win this map 250 to 243 and walk out with a 3-0 potentially in this series. So. But instead, it's got to come down to a map 5 that they do clutch out in here in this one. Despite that misplay though from Sib, he's looked actually really good this tournament. He's been looking, I think, really pretty awful to be honest. To be blunt, here in the online stage, I don't think he's looked good, but he actually showed up this tournament and was probably Cloud9's best player, one of their best players here in the 2 matches that they did play. He might have single-handedly saved his spot on this team with this event here to show that he can still show up on
You think
LAN.
so?
What's that?
You think it was that? You think it was he was that on the hot seat coming into this tournament?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would have made a change or would have dropped him because I mean, it's Sib. Like it's one of the best slayers in the league, historically or in recent history. So it's like maybe they were not ever gonna plan on dropping him and would have built around him. But I think if there was any doubt, he probably shut that down if there was any. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows what they would have done? And when they get eliminated in their next match, I'll talk about my thoughts for potential changes on this team here. But yeah, I don't know. As for
That would just
Boston,
been crazy because they
huh?
built around it. That was the
Oh
one guy
yeah.
they retained, which
Yeah,
is just
but I mean,
crazy.
he was
That if
looking so bad online. It was
yeah,
like we've never seen Sib look this bad before in any amount of matches for that long of a stretch. So it's like it has to at least raise the question. Maybe it was never an actual possibility, but it was just crazy to see from Sib.
Streets were saying he was the worst player in the league.
Yeah, I mean CDL Hater
Yeah.
Central was having their way with Sib. Said he was in contention for the Ass MVP. So, but yeah, I think he kind of came out and showed up on LAN at least in this one. But as for Breach here, my thoughts on them. I'm not freaking out yet if I'm Breach. It's only Major 1. Um, and you saw some bright spots, like I mean, you played great online as a team. So a couple bad matches here. Guys might have been a little bit skittish showing up to LAN here, and so I don't know. I wouldn't completely freak out. Maybe they do make a change. I don't know. But you got to keep Snoopy around. You got to at this point. You're so committed to the Snoopy project that you can't give up on that at any point. So I think you probably just let this roster rock and see if maybe Major 2 they bomb out. Then you start looking at something potentially if you want to make a run for champs. But they've got a decent amount of CDL points. They're sitting good in terms of qualifying for champs if they keep it up at this rate. And so I wouldn't make a change yet, at least if I'm Boston Breach. But those are my kind of thoughts for this series. What have you got?
I mean, what do you see as a success for the season for Breach? Like just qualify for champs?
Um, yeah. See, I don't know. I think like a top 4 placing at champs is successful for this team.
Then you're high.
Yeah, I
Like
don't know. I
like
mean,
that's unreal expectations. If you're sitting here going, you're sitting here looking at this roster going, I wouldn't do anything too much. You know, they look good. This team, you are on that
well,
good
okay,
shit. If you
okay,
think this team has any chance of being, yeah, they can make a run at champs. I agree with you, Sam. Say one of the top teams does bad. Okay, so there's the 4 top teams and then you got Ravens, then you got Heretics, then you got I mean, you got plenty of other teams that I just don't see this Breach team surpassing. So I don't know. I mean, qualify for champs is a success in my head, I guess. But this team is in no man's land in my head, and there's a
okay.
couple teams like that.
Well, let me adjust it. I'd say they stick here at least until the next major, unless they potentially beyond that if they actually do find success. But you're right. I do agree with you that this team probably is not going to be able to place top 4 at champs. I think top 6 is a more realistic, optimistic goal for them. realistically with this roster specifically. But I do want to see, or I wouldn't say that you switch up yet because the thing is here, I don't know who you want to drop here because Purge, Awakening, and Cammy aren't like your none of them are your guy, so it's like I don't know what one you want to drop, or if you make a mistake with dropping one of them, dropping two of them, or getting rid of all three of them. I feel like you at least stick together for the next major and see like who actually you want to build around here with this one, and then make a change if things still aren't going your way, which you're right, they probably aren't going to be going their way realistically. So I don't know, I just wouldn't be so ready to pull trigger because realistically, the type of talent that people are going to be want or willing to come to Boston Breach is not going to be, top of the league. Like PRED, for example, is like a free agent right now. He's not going to Boston Breach. We know that. And the top guys that you would be looking to replace some of these guys aren't going to be wanting to go there right now at Major or after Major 1. So I don't know. I guess that's where my stance is with them, is at least stick through Major 2 and see what happens and see who the hell you actually want to get rid of without making a mistake or getting rid of somebody that you don't want to lose. Right now, like, I don't know. That's my stance on it. But I do agree. Like, this team is not going to be able to place top 4 at Champs. Qualifying for Champs would be a win for them with this roster, and then top 6 would be the optimistic goal for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take it one step farther. These guys are bums. They ain't getting a top 4 at any tournament the entire year. And I'll do some heinous things on this podcast if these guys get top 4. So,
Okay.
chat, comment what you want me to do if Breach gets one top 4 at any major this year. I'll do some things because this team does not have it. I know it here. I know it now. There's plenty of other teams. It'd be one thing if it was last year where there was only 4 good teams, but there are some solid other teams, and this team will not be going toe to toe with any of them and getting hot at a major. So comment what you want to see me do, but it ain't gonna happen.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll leave your comments and we'll see. Maybe Drew will be doing something absolutely wild without or out of bounds of TOS for YouTube potentially, but
What a wild thing for me to stake claim to is just preying on Breach's downfall.
Yeah.
Didn't expect myself to be doing that coming in, but I feel fully confident in that claim because, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll see for sure. But let's move on here to the OpTic Texas loss finally that we've been talking about against Carolina. They do actually squeak out a hardpoint win in this one, 250 to 248. This was the map you were talking about, Drew, where Hook's like, let's rotate, and Kenny's like, no, I'm gonna bang ult, and then it comes out they have to perfectly hold. I think it was a P4 on Protocol and Bunker. They have to perfectly hold that if they actually want to win, and they are able to do that. So I thought initially, I was like, okay, they finally got themselves a hardpoint win after going 0-4 to start this up. Maybe this series is not chalked for them. But TJ Halley said, yes, it is, and proceeded to win the next 3 maps of this one here, man. Yeah, Carolina just really handed it to them for the rest of it. There wasn't really any close maps per se. From that point on, I mean, they obviously took the S&D there, but took the S&D 6-3, slammed them on the control, and the hard point was a 60-point win. So Carolina was just kind of in control for the rest of that. But let's kind of talk here. Great series from Carolina, first and foremost. But after that, let's talk about OpTic. I know we've been mentioning this here. I honestly have no idea what the hell OpTic is going to do going forward here, because it's such a question mark, and we're so confused about what the deal is with PRED, what the deal is with this OpTic roster in general. I think, what if I had to guess, the way that the players have been talking, I doubt that this OpTic roster team makes a change. I bet you they keep Dashy, Hook, Kenny, Shotzi, and just let it rock for the rest of this, just because of how Shotzi's been talking. We all know that Shotzi loves Hook and loves playing with Hook, and I think they probably aren't going to make a change. And on paper, it probably looks like the best thing here. I mean, Hook, like we said, has been their best player. He's the only guy positive in this series for them with a 1.05. Against Carolina here, so Hook has played well. I don't think it's Hook's fault here, but there's just a lot of shit that we don't know with the PRED situation. there's just no reason that a CDL team wins champs and then effectively drops their one of their best players before Major One of the next season even starts. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense here because I think Pred is a free agent here and wants to come back after Major One. But I don't know. There may be something going on there. I don't know exactly what it is. But all that being said, with the facts and what we know about the situation, I think what OpTic should do, and you can agree or disagree with me. I'll let you give your thoughts on this. But what I think they should do is just go back, pick up Pred. In a perfect world, I think you bring Pred back into this roster. I know Hook played well in this tournament, like I said, but I recognize that he was probably one of their most consistent players here. But I just feel like you have to rock with your championship roster, and not base decisions off of like who you vibe with better. Which in here in Hook and Shotzi are the vibes might be better. I get it. But you just have to stick to your guns, man. This is a world
I don't give
championship
a fuck
roster.
about vibes.
I know. Yeah.
There's a ring on their finger. There's a ring on their finger
Yeah.
from a couple months ago. Fuck the
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
How the vibes right now? You guys just got, you lost. You won one game. Like,
Yeah.
fuck the vibes. I don't care if you guys are friends. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I agree. I agree. So I think personally they bring in Ped. They reassemble this championship roster. If Pred is ready to go again, like I said, who knows what the hell is going on behind the scenes? Maybe there's some reason that he can't come back to this roster. I don't know. So like I said, to sum it up for me, I think they will stick probably. But what they should do is get Hook out of here. And it's great for Hook. Great, Hook went out and fried for them, so Hook could get on the next best roster available. He probably would get picked up before Major 2 even starts if they actually drop him. But bring in Pred back to this roster, and this OpTic Texas team will be in a much better position than they are. Can pick back up where they left off from last year. And I think they should pick up Pred. But I mean, you could touch more a little bit on your thoughts.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm team pick up Pred. I'm a huge Pred fan, and I think in a perfect world with nothing else going on, you do. You just do. I mean, you won champs. Hook pride was not the issue at all this weekend. But like you said, Hook and Shotzi, um, best buddies or whatever. But I think it's almost like I don't know how tapped in you are with the NBA, but in years past, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell really couldn't work in the backcourt together. They kind of had the same type of game. So it was like, hey, you get this game, I get this game. Like they kind of played like that. It was you go. And that's kind of what it feels like with the Hook and Shotzi. Like it is very similar play styles in my head. So it's like Hook's taking the kills that Shotzi normally gets, or Shotzi's taking the kills that Hook normally gets. And Pred was just kind of the change up that this roster needed, in my opinion. So yeah, in a perfect world, you pick up Pred. Sorry, Hook, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. But I will say this: Pred cannot be looming in free agency. If you're not gonna pick him up, you got I don't know how you do it, but you got to make sure he is on a roster because it just seems like this Pred cloud is just looming over these guys, like over their head. And I don't know if that's what's contributing to the bad play or what, but like these guys just don't seem to have it right now. But they have these majors, they have these majors before. They had Major 4 last year, I believe, right? Where they just got slammed. So maybe they'll right the ship. It seems like they at times they just need a little bit of motivation. Especially Kenny. I don't know if you've seen Kenny's Twitter, but he's quote tweeting people. He's getting fired up about some nade shot clips and stuff like that. So we'll see how Kenny responds. But it was a bad performance from Kenny, and it's just becoming all too common from Kenny. So boys got slammed. They looked rough. Just don't look like a cohesive unit right now.
Yeah.
So they've got to get it figured out. They got to get it figured out quick. And all of this just is more pressure when Pred is just sitting out there on free agency. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but that'll be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It just seems like this OpTic franchise in general in the CDL, man, bar the one year that they won champs, they just can't seem to like get their shit together, like get their ducks in a row, and make things go the way that they want them. Aside from obviously the year that they won champs, and
And you thought it was going to be this year.
yeah,
I really thought it could be them and Thieves banging out all
yeah,
year
yeah,
before that PRED news. I mean, they looked so good. They looked great at champs. Like, yeah, I thought this was going to be the year that finally a little bit of like, um, just widespread like same roster back, same coaches, same, like we got these guys, and we got some chemistry, and then that news came out, and that is a rough start after that change.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see what OpTic does. I'm sure it's not all chalked. Like they're still a good team. They did well online, and they didn't place dead last at least. So if they do stick, it's still not chalked, I'm saying, but we'll see. We'll see here what happens. But okay, and then let's move on to day 3 here of this tournament. Getting it kicked off with Minnesota Rocker versus Cloud9, and here is the Cloud9 loss that we saw to get them eliminated from this tournament. Here in this one, stellar showing here from the Geo and Estriel side, like we kind of been harping on. Those are their two guys, man. They should be moving forward with, for sure. On the C9 side, man. Again, Sib kind of did okay here in this one, 91 and 89 for 1.02. Kremps looked good here. Kremps looked good in general on this season. So I think the only point here that you got to make on is actually the 2 points here are kind of attach and Kremp, or sorry, attach and Mac in terms of what you want to do with them. I don't know what the right change is. If I had to guess, I think attach is probably dropped solo, but you got to consider it, man. You got to consider what you want to do with attach and Mac in general. I don't know. I wrote down here like maybe Illy for attach or something like that. Get a high level AR out of challengers or somebody who's been frying in challengers to replace attach to kind of keep up with that pace, man. But just yeah, I mean attach is probably where it's at here in terms of changes, man. Maybe Mac. Additionally, I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this Cloud9 roster because I thought they were going to be good coming in this year, and they just straight up haven't been. So, yeah.
Yeah, not many thoughts from me either. I think it might be a time for attach to hang it up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
unfortunately,
that's not been good for a while.
yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, he struggled to find success with really anybody since like I think the last time was really Cold War when I think he was on Rocker was the last time they were able to like win much of anything. So yeah, I think
and you can't complain about like he's been on some rough teams, been put in some bad situations in years past. This roster's not one.
yeah,
So
no, I think these guys are like this Krep Mac and Sib are really solid three for him to be at the helm of. And I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I think it might be attach gets dropped, and that might be the unfortunate end to his career. Unfortunately, I love attach though. He's a good guy, but I think that's just the case here. But yeah, Minnesota Rocker continue it here in this one. Grab the dub 3-1. They'll move on, and so we will move on to the next match here. Miami Heretics versus the Los Angeles Thieves. Thieves just straight up owned Miami in this event. That home crowd advantage was not present for LA Thieves, or they were able to put that aside pretty easily. They had their way with them in this series. Green carpet versus a red carpet in this one. Everybody on Thieves looked good here in this series, but Envoy has been tucking, or was tucking this entire event. He was probably their best and at least most consistent player in this tournament, which I don't think a lot of people looked in. He's kind of the one guy that like he is a superstar. He's an amazing player. Has had a lot of success, but he's kind of the one guy that like doesn't like stand out as like you're okay. He's
hey,
gonna be
odd
the
man out.
guy. Yeah, he's the odd man
He's
out
the
of
odd
the
man out.
of the superstar roster. So yeah, I mean you don't expect Envoy to be the guy like he was in this tournament, but he looked great in this one, man. Medals from Miami. I think he's the sore point for them. He has been even in their wins in this tournament. He has been their least slaying player, and I think Super is a guy that just moved in from Europe to NA. I could definitely see a change being made for Miami where they drop medals. We'll talk about it a bit more when they get eliminated from this tournament, but he's definitely the shining red spot here for them of what's obvious for them to do. But yeah, not a whole lot else for me to say. It's a 3-0 win from LA Thieves. I don't know if you had anything.
Yeah, no, that's what a good team does to Heretics. They handle them on Sunday too. Villains, like I said, against a home crowd, villains, Hydra, scrap, what they do. You know what I mean? Feed
Yeah.
feed off the negative energy. I like that. Ghosty wins match MVP despite the Envoy play. 4.0 KD and SND. That'll get it done. Um, so yeah, no,
16
that's
and
that's
4. Yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy. Ghosty is a dog, which is crazy because they win this 6-4. Like Ghosty is the only one on this team here doing anything in this S&D. So he's the only reason they win this map because he drops an absolute nuke here in this map on Search and
I mean,
Destroy.
look at Heretics too. Real, it was a Real versus Ghosty show, and
Yeah, yeah,
um, just a straight up 1v1, I guess.
yeah,
So yeah, no, it was a good series. Though they match again later, so I guess we'll talk more on
yeah. Okay.
later.
Yeah, and then moving on here to winners round two, Toronto Ultra versus Atlanta FaZe, another 3-0, man. There were some unexpected 3-0s, I think, just with how this game has been playing out. Like I thought Toronto Ultra would put up a better fight against FaZe here in this one, man. Um, Another winners bracket sweep though instead on this end. The map one finish here. I think I can. Damn, do they not have clips right now?
Oh, it was
Uh,
generational.
it was insane. Yeah, I can't pull up the clips, I don't think, unfortunately. It must be like turned off, but it was just a crazy end. Like goes down to time. We haven't seen that a whole lot here in the league, but goes down to time on hardpoint and like I think it was
Three.
Celium gets in the hill at the end, or is it a BZ? One of
It was a
them.
BZ. It was a
Yeah.
BZ, and there was like 3 lead changes with like 10 seconds left on the clock,
Yeah.
and those are always so interesting because do you hop off? Do you stay on? You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
you're watching a watch party, and half of them will be like, you played at 250. You just
Yeah.
played at 250 because then you start getting cute whenever you try to hop off.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I don't know if it really hurt either team. Like, I don't remember. Like, I obviously watched it, but like, I think like both teams just got broken. I don't think either team was like trying to hop off until BZ did at the end, which
Yeah.
still, again, almost hurt him. Like, if he doesn't bump into whoever was vaulting over his head, like if they literally like made contact, and if it could have been perfect. There's 0.3 seconds left, so
Yeah.
maybe the game would have just like not given it to him anyways. But um, yeah, no, that is electric.
Yeah.
Best ending I've seen this year.
Yeah,
So
that was pretty crazy. It was on P2 Vault to end it there in the hard point. But after that, it was pretty much just phase from there on. 3-1 in the control, 6-3 in the search and destroy. Just kind of made Toronto Ultra look like their bitch here in this one. And like I said about the KDs, man, Toronto Ultra gets slammed, and Insight is positive. Everybody else is negative in this one. So kind of a common theme there with them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If you're good on this series, FaZe just looked amazing. Continued their run of dominance here in this tournament.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's move on here to Miami Heretics. They do grab the win to secure top four here at this one against Minnesota Rocker 3-2. Um, I, I was happy. If you're Minnesota Rocker, I'm happy with this land performance from them. Finish top six. Obviously, you want to do as good as you can. But I think after the online play, man, to go out here when you did against a team that placed top three. Is a slight win. Now, that's not to say I don't think changes are in the future for this Rocker roster potentially. If they're still trying to get over that hump of consistently being in top six, top four of this league. But yeah, I was impressed or at least happy. You got to be happy if you're Rocker with this showing. But as for Miami here, Rancor looked good, man, in this one. Great series from him. He's proven to be a great pickup for this for this roster here in this one. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll harp on Rocker as for the actual change if they do make one. It's obviously got to be Paul X if he's out of here. I think he's been the
I think you just leave
consistent.
it.
You
I
think
think
you
you
think
just leave it
you
though.
let this rock? I agree. I think you let this rock here. Because Parasite has been very vocal about the flank or on the flank that Pollex is like the glue to this team, and I do get that. So I think that's totally grounds for letting it rock here for a team like the Rocket that's been probably overperforming a little bit from what we initially thought. But I mean, you
Yep.
have Estriel and Geo. They're a solid duo. Of what they've been showing so far. Obviously, Estriel not a great series here from him. But aside from that, I think if this is what's working for this team right now, let them improve. They're young. They've got Nero, who's kind of a proven guy in this league so far, and I do agree. I think if there is a change, it's got to be Paul X because, like you said, there is a time when vibes no longer matters, and if you're still constantly stuck in this top 8, top 6 loop, then he goes. But yeah, I agree. You can go ahead and give your thoughts on it.
I think that top 6, top 8. I think this performance is a win for this team. So I don't see any changes needed unless they really like if Pollock isn't the glue that's holding it together. Like you know, say a Kenny, you know what I mean? Like say somebody like a glue is for another team who do put up like lower numbers. But that would be a win for me. Like if they could go out and put up this performance at champs, that'd be a good season for me. And Estriel, Geo, and Nero have all been on teams that are a mess. So it's good to see them all together with Paul X and put up a good performance like this. You come back out on Major 2 and do the same thing. Like I think that's a very good year for these guys. Like finally, just some consistency. I don't think hurts some guys like Gio and Nero that have just been bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
So
Um, I'll disagree with you a little bit. Like I think this roster, like Estriol and Gio are very good players that I think are going to be in the league for a long time. So I would disagree in the sense that I don't think they want to be complacent with top 6 every event. Like I think this team like could like make Sundays, with Estriol and Gio just being the players that they are. So I think that
well,
should be
I'm saying, I mean, look at the score. This is about as close of a series as it can be.
yeah,
You
yeah.
win, you win.
Oh
You're
yeah,
you're
it's a
round 11.
yeah.
You're round 11. I'm thinking, hey, you went to round 5 on the control as well, and it's not like the hard points weren't close. Like I mean, you have a little bit more ice. You're at a Sunday.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you live with that. You know what I mean? You make
Yeah.
you make one more play and you're at a Sunday. I think that's kind of the spot you want to be in if you're this roster. Is just clutch up on that. You're at a Sunday. That's a win.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're
you
saying.
can't be you
Because I
can't be
mean they
too
are.
like
Yeah,
I,
you're
yeah.
right. They're putting themselves in positions at least. I mean I forgot that this was a map 5 round 11. Like this could has just as easily been a top 4 placing for Rocker. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
we're talking about it way differently. If Rocker was a top 4, like that's
yeah
just kind of how I'm putting it in my head. It's
yeah
just like they were there. They were there.
yeah. I agree. I
So,
agree. I do agree. They should definitely stick here, after this one. So yeah. But yeah, man, Miami Heretics gonna hop their way into Sunday in the top 4. Minnesota Rocker, unfortunate for them, but I think we'll be seeing them a bit more, at least on LAN, going forward. Obviously, if things go wrong, is when you start potentially looking into a change. But if stuff like that keeps happening, I think they've got a bright future. But let's move on to the last match of Saturday here. Um, Toronto Ultra versus Carolina Royal Ravens. Carolina gonna get this win 3-2 against Ultra. Yeah, man, I have written down Tej. Only player here for Carolina positive, despite them winning the series. Carolina's S&D is a very strong suit. They take both maps here again in this one, to ice up map 5 to prevent the reverse sweep from Toronto, but they've got that S&D Iceman, and it definitely showed in this series. I don't know. If I'm Toronto here, I'm not totally freaking out. Like we talked about Insight, and the potential that he's playing, and the way that he's playing. I don't think it's the end of the world for this team. I think this team has shown that they've been pretty good, and I wouldn't freak out, make a change. Definitely not, at this point. But if things kind of persist and they keep showing that they're unable to beat the top teams, because this Toronto Ultra is an organization that has been in the top 4, winning grand finals, and they've shown that that's what their goal is as an organization. So I think their expectations are a little bit higher than some of these other teams, like Rocker, for example, where we're saying them just getting there is kind of a W. When you're Toronto Ultra, you're expected to try and make runs in that top four. And so if they're showing that they're unable to continue beating these teams like Carolina and other top four teams is when you start considering maybe looking at switching some things up. But for now, man, it's major one. I would let this Toronto Ultra team rock here. Obviously, not the outcome you wanted from this series, but again, like you kind of said, like this is a 6-4 round 10 map 5, so that could have gone another way too. Actually, both of the S&Ds were very close, 5-6 and 4-6 losses there for Toronto Ultra. But yeah,
Yeah, and the
that's my
round
piece.
round 10 on the last map was a 1v2 for TJ to send him to, so
Hmm.
like that could have been a round 11 as well.
Hmm.
I mean, you just look at the scoreboard and like
Yeah.
surprisingly a bad Kleenex game. But like, yeah, no, the I don't. This was two good teams going at it. Kind of fringe teams that like good for Ravens, in my opinion. These were some fun maps to watch. I feel like they're just very evenly matched. But TJ, like that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
So,
He has been having or had an insane event, which is crazy
and
because I mean,
that protocol S&D map 5 was a really good map. That was up there with the um Vault hardpoint from earlier.
mhm.
So Ultra just played some really like, I mean, yeah, that protocol S&D was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and like I said, it was a 1v2 away from round 11, which would have been crazy as well. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the series.
Yeah, so Carolina gonna get the win here, but as we move on to Sunday to talk about them right after this, they unfortunately fall. Their run has come to an end. The TJ Halley Masterclass at this event comes to an end. I really didn't expect Miami here to win this one. I thought Carolina Royal Ravens with the momentum they had were gonna take this one over Miami, especially after Miami just getting kind of dog walked by Thieves. Initially, I didn't think they were going to be able to continue their run, but they do here against them. Everybody on Miami kind of came together. I thought Lucky played great this event. He had kind of been like a inconsistent, streaky player, but he actually looked good in this series, especially. Metals again, the only negative player on Miami. He's definitely the weak point of this roster for sure. Um, but yeah, man. I don't know. Overall, I don't think you can complain if you're Carolina with this event. They got to bounce back. They looked rough a little bit at the end of the online qualifiers. Came out here, dropped a top four placement here to regain and run it back for next year. I'm happy if I'm Carolina with this. Obviously, you want to win this against Miami, but I mean it's home crowd Miami. They were on a little bit of a run as well. Sucks, but it is what it is. I'm happy if I'm Carolina. I don't know about your thoughts.
No, not really any thoughts. Can't be any like if you're medals, you're stoked. Because if this would have been a bad tournament, he would have been gone. I think if anytime in the future it goes bad, he will be the odd man out.
Yeah, I agree. He's hasn't looked great, but yeah, not a whole lot else to say with this one. Kind of just Carolina Royal Ravens run came to an end, and then Miami's moved on, which we see their run come to an end shortly, anyways. But let's talk about the winners finals here. We've got Los Angeles Thieves versus the Atlanta FaZe here. FaZe get it done in reverse sweep fashion against the Thieves 3-2. I really thought Thieves were gonna just come out and bully them. Scrap has historically kind of owned Draza, especially on LAN, and I thought that was going to be the case here again in this one, especially after the hard point just absolutely bullying them in that red card. But yeah, man, the two series these guys played were insane. Some of the best series that we've seen. These last three maps were wild. Going to map 5, round 11 for the reverse sweep. that was insane. The maps these teams played against each other this weekend were some of the best that we've seen in the CDL era. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time personally with my thoughts on this series because I'll kind of talk about most of the things in the actual grand finals, which was arguably a better series than this one. So I'm not going to talk about that too much. I do want to say, though, I wonder what the result of the tournament in general would have been if they actually closed out that 3-0 against FaZe in that control and closed out that map. I wonder if it would have affected or if FaZe would have worked their way back and we would have seen the exact same grand finals series. I don't know. I'm curious to think, but it's just a big what if. But that's all I want to say about this series. I don't know about you.
Yep, got no thoughts.
Okay. Well, let's move on. We can kind of get through this next one pretty quick, too. It's just like we said, Thieves owned Miami again here in this one. This one was arguably a little bit more of owning, but Envoy drops a 1.59. Man, the kid is tucking, bro. Yeah, like I said, they just owned him. This series, it kind of felt like a placeholder match for to get the rematch there against FaZe. I do want to congratulate Miami for their best ever CDL placing at LAN for the Miami franchise, and I think this is their best ever LAN placing for like the entire Florida franchise, going back to even the Mutineers. Aside from Mutineers, I think won like an online event back during COVID for MW 2019. So I think they won a homestand there. But aside from that, man, this is probably one of their best placings that we've seen from the Florida franchise, man. So congratulations to Miami for getting it done, especially at home. That's really cool for them. But yeah, aside from that, man, Thieves just kind of handed it to them there with an Envoy masterclass. I don't know what you think.
I've been playing a lot of rivals. This is just called a team diff. Up and
Yeah.
down the roster, they're just better at every spot. You know, you get to a point, talent-wise, like Heretic's good top three. You run into the big dogs, and you just get slammed like this. I mean, Envoy. I mean, shout out. You said it earlier, but Envoy, kind of the role player on this star roster. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the Mario Chalmers to the big three, and just got it done. Like, role players step up, and it's too bad they couldn't cash in on a good weekend from him.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah. But Thieves will move on here to the grand finals, and like I said, this was probably the best grand final series we have ever seen in the CDL era, and I didn't watch a whole lot of competitive Call of Duty before that, but a lot of people who did have been saying that this might be the best or one of the best grand finals we've seen ever in Call of Duty competitive history. So yeah, it was insane. Map 7, round 11. Like that's shit you can't write up. And that's what we got was a map 7, round 11. The draw's a three-piece in that search and destroy. I wonder if I have. Yeah. I've got a clip of it right here. This was insane to send it to. I think. What was it? This was 4-4 to send it to 5-5 or 5-4 FaZe. Look at that, man. He just pops up, grabs all three of them. He almost gets the fourth there, which was crazy. That would have been an insane clip. But man, these are the types of plays that win you grand finals, and that's exactly what it does for them. Picks up Ghosty, picks up Scrap, and then picks up Envoy here to basically make it a 3v1. Yeah, like I said, those are the types of plays that win you championships. Thieves, I think, is undoubtedly, man, the best hardpoint team in the game right now. But it doesn't matter if FaZe is gonna play you on 3 search and destroys at a best of 7. That's gonna win them the series. And that's what it did here. FaZe won 3 search and destroys here. Search and destroy is definitely not the Thieves' strong point, and that's something I think they really, really, really need to work on here in this one. But yeah, I've got a bit more thoughts, but I'll let you interject just for brief thoughts here on this one.
Yeah, like you said, S&D gonna have to figure it out if they're gonna want to bring home any championships. You just play 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or at least you gotta hope to wrap things up by map 6. But generational series, super fun to watch. And one little quick thought I had showed at the beginning of that clip that you were showing was the amount of times this weekend that there was like a Rocket League being played.
Yeah.
Like there'd be like rounds where there was 3 cars called in, was just funny. I guess one team, you know what I mean? Like you're out a player when they're calling in the RC.
Yeah.
So
And that's
it
where
was funny.
Envoy was when he or sorry, Ghosty was when Draws three-pieced him was Ghosty was like in controlling the RC car. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like it's really funny to like see how that's managed because you're just fully out of the play. You have no gun up. You get caught with your pants down like that. So I guess other teams were like taking advantage of like, oh, hey, they're out a player. Let's just call in ours. And some really funny situations with like hiding them right at the corners of like doorways and stuff like that, or like,
Yeah.
I know on protocol, like right by the elevator. Um, just really funny stuff. I enjoyed the Rocket League at times, but
Yeah.
you can go back to your thoughts.
Yeah. Only other things I had right in here was Simp got the MVP here of this tournament. I thought it should have gotten a Celium here. Celium got it for the series here on Breaking Point. So I thought it should have gotten a Celium, but it really could have gotten any of them. They all played really well. But congrats to FaZe, man. This is the third tournament in a row that they've won. There was Esports World Cup at the end of last year. Then they won the minor one, and then they've won this major one. So they're on a run here. These are looking hot. It's crazy to think about it actually, because there were conversations of the trio potentially breaking up after champs last year, when they didn't place as well at that one. So breaking up the Abizi, Celium, and Simp trio was something that was potentially on the table that people were at least talking about. And then they come out here. Well, they go out, win EWC, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, we're not changing. But then they come out at the start of BO6 online, and they look like shit, to be blunt. And the people are like, well, shit, maybe they just all suck at this game. Maybe they made the wrong decision. Maybe the trio did need to break up. And then they come out, win the minor, and then win the major. So it's crazy. This Atlanta FaZe trio that we've seen for the past like 5 years at this point has just been staying true, staying consistent. Obviously, when they have a little bit of downward trending, they just get right back up there and go on and win 3 tournaments in a row. So they are inevitable. This FaZe team is insane. We'll see if this is the start of another Cold War phase where they win like damn near every event. The last time we had a Black Ops game was Cold War, and that was the case. So we'll see if it pans out that way. But that's all I had. If you had any more.
Yeah, I guess my word of the tournament would be continuity. Like you said, the Celium was getting some heat after champs last year. They decided to rock it. They decided to keep it together. There's the big three, but draws for another year. Keep everything the same, and it's panned out. Minor win, major win, Esports World Cup win. It'll just be something to pay attention to throughout the entire year. Is continuity. OpTic, the whole PRED thing goes down, and bad tournament from them. These completely different. We'll see how they end up doing, but like that could be a theme throughout the entire season. Is let's see how this FaZe team does. Let's see how many teams make changes. Like we said with that Rocker team, if they stick together and do well, like continuity could be a big thing this year. So it'd be very interesting to watch. But good for FaZe. And I think we may end up seeing this exact matchup.
Yeah.
Multiple. This won't be the last grand final we'll see of this matchup. I have a
No,
feeling.
I agree. Yeah. FaZe just came out and were hot and did their thing. So there's not a whole lot else to say, man. They're looking good. They're definitely at the top of the tier list. If you were to make one, I thought about putting out one potentially. We're not gonna do it in this episode because we're already at like an hour 15 here. But maybe some point before the major or the major 2 stage starts, we can look at that potentially. But did want to touch in here on my pick'ems, and of course. I'm sure if you guys have been watching the CDL section of the podcast, you guys know this fucking website never saves my picks. So I got nothing here for this one for what I made, but realistically, I did not predict Miami to go top 3, so that probably would have hurt my picks here. And then obviously I had OpTic going to top 3 instead of them, so that definitely would have hurt for sure. But hey, I mean, like I said, at least I picked 2/3 of the final 3 with FaZe and Thieves. So Yeah, I don't have everything else that I picked, so I can't really go over anything. But upcoming, I think we can do, and if you want to help me, for the last thing, we can do Major 2 predictions. Or and now is it still locked? It's still locked. Um, okay, yeah. So I guess we aren't going to be doing Major 2 pick'ems until maybe next week or something when these unlock. I don't know if it. You see here on my screen if it says when they're. I don't think it does. When like we can do
No,
Major 2 pick'ems. I don't know.
nope.
Um,
But 0 points, that's pretty sad performance, man.
yeah,
Like, if you're
apparently.
gonna need, can't blame you for pulling in somebody like me. We'll make sure to get a couple more points next time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'll get your head screwed on right.
Yeah, well, the most important thing is you reminding me to press save results in case I'm not doing that because we really need that to go through. But yeah, looking forward, looking ahead, obviously we can't do the pick'ems right now for them, but looking forward, matches return on Friday, February 14th. We have this weekend ahead of us here today, or I guess starting tomorrow. We have that off, so there's no CDL matches, and then matches return next weekend on February 14th. Then it looks like Minor 2 takes place from February 28th through March 2nd, so I think there'll be 2 weeks of online qualifiers, and then the online minor. It'll be much quicker this time. Obviously, there was a big break last time between like week 2 of qualifiers and then the minor, so it's just going to happen back to back this time. So from February 28th to March 2nd will be the minor 2, and then qualifier matches then return the following 2 weekends. All to lead into Major 2 in Dallas, hosted by OpTic, taking place from March 20th to 23rd. So, yeah, like I said, we're basically at the point in the season where things actually start to pick up in pace and begin moving from stage to stage like a lot quicker. And so Major 2 is going to be here before we know it, man. Anything else to wrap up your thoughts on CDL or anything going forward here?
No, I can't stand the bye week after a major.
Yeah.
I get it, but like the esport gets hot during majors and then they just take a week off. It
Yeah.
like I know the players need it or whatever, but man, it'd be nice if they could just keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Um, so no thoughts.
Yeah, well, that's everything we wanted to talk. It was a great major, and I'm looking forward to a lot here. But to wrap or to jump into my conclusions here of the podcast, again, pretty much wanted to focus on CDL specifically here. I'll switch the cameras. Pretty much wanted to focus on CDL strictly here in this episode because we won't have anything if at all for next week related to CDL to cover here. It'll be more so talking about Super Bowl and football. It might be a much shorter episode, but we'll definitely talk about that. We'll see who I have on for that. But yeah, that's all that we've got for this one. There's been a lot of trades, hirings, firings, signings in football. Also, I did want to talk about it. Luca for AD is just diabolical. We got to mention that on the podcast. I had that here in the notes. Drew, you're a basketball guy. What are your thoughts on this?
Dude, ridiculous. I thought it was fake for forever. Like it's an issue when Shams has a tweet and be like, "I'm not hacked," and like his boys would like come back at him and be like, "He's not hacked. It's actually real." Um, Nico Harrison is absolutely tripping. Just ridiculous. And there's been, I mean, NBA trade deadline is ridiculous. Lakers went out and got him a center last night, and Mark Williams. De'Aaron Fox is teaming up with Wemby.
Saw that.
Like, is De'Aaron gonna grab him a couple rings in the future? Like, man, it's just insane. Like, I mean, good for the NBA, man. I'm an NBA fan. Like, that's my sport. Good for them to like. I haven't personally like the Super Bowl's on Sunday. I know it's on Sunday, but like they have dominated the news cycle. And you can't blame them when a generational player gets traded on a Saturday night at midnight. Like, wow. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. I
crazy.
was I was I was shocked when I saw it as well. And somebody they must have legalized that good stuff in Dallas, Texas, apparently. But yeah, that's everything for this episode. We'll touch more again on the Super Bowl and everything that happens. Again, who's your prediction, Drew?
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jeez, probably. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, like everybody else, I'm rooting for the Eagles. Love to see Saquon go crazy and snatch him an MVP. Um, but yeah, no. I'm out. I have low interest, truly.
Yeah,
Um,
I think a lot of
I'll
people
be
do.
watching because of the Super Bowl, but like, I mean, I'm sounding like I might sound like a girl, but I'm low key more interested in the halftime show right now than I am
I'm more interested in the
than the
commercials.
game. The commercials in the halftime show have my interest peaked, but I ain't trying to see, you know, the refs and Mahomes devil magic versus tush push. Like let's just let Saquon go nuts, please. But I doubt that happens. I don't trust Jalen Hurts to go win a Super Bowl. AJ Brown gonna be reading a book on the sideline. Um, I think it's gonna be the Chiefs. What about you?
I picked the Eagles last week, just out of hope, I think. Realistically, it's probably gonna be the Chiefs. But yeah, I'm in the same boat as every single person in America, probably, and rooting for the Eagles. And I do think they can do it. Like, I think they're the better team, but we'll just see how the refs come out and do it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything here. Make sure to look up the podcast on Spotify, Killstreaks and Kickoffs Podcast. It'll be linked in the description below alongside all the other socials. Thank you, Drew, for coming on. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about some more CDL stuff in the coming weeks once that returns, to have you on for some future episodes. But that is everything, everybody. Drop a like, drop a comment again. Drop a comment what Drew has to do if the Boston Breach plays top 4 at an event this season. But drop a comment as well if you disagree with anything or agree with us on any other thing. That is everything, everybody. Have a good weekend and peace out.
Bury me now and I only get bigger, that's word of my nigga. Yeah, October firm in the cut. Stay at the top like I'm stuck. This shit time giving it up. She wanna get married tonight, but I can't take a knee, so I'm wearing all white.